Okay, let's just make sure we're live on Instagram. We'll have our little delay like normal. 1 minute. And come on. There we go. I think we're on. I'm pretty confident that we're on Instagram as well. Should be. So anyway, right. Good morning, Kirsty.
Good morning.
Kirsty is joining us today with a touch of laryngitis, apparently. So apologies in advance if she coughs, splutters, croaks. Yeah, we'll try and get through this one. She's been a soldier. She's continuing on. But yeah, not nice to hear that you're feeling poorly. So hopefully after this, you go and get a cup of like ginger tea or something and soothe your throat. Recoup, yeah. Take the day off. It's a good job it's the weekend, isn't it?
I'm so glad.
Oh, me too. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about hiring your first associate VA, and as always, we're going to give you our honest, brutally honest opinions and experiences at what we've been through. I do feel like we often show up with a really negative mindset, and we probably put people off. So we'll try to keep it balanced today. As always, it's brilliant because we're coming at it from completely different perspectives in a way. But also have had the same experience because I'm the agency owner of LTVA, and Kirsty's, like I always say, I hate you. You're just everything in the business. So whilst Kirsty's not ever took on her own associate VA, I've took on lots, and Kirsty has been a big part of that and has helped to onboard them. And she deals with my associate VAs more than I do. So yeah, we're going to share our experiences about that today. One of the best things about hiring associate VAs is that you can utilize their skill set to complement skills you don't have. So it's a brilliant thing to do to grow your packages. So let's say, for example, you're not a tech VA, then you can take on associates that are tech VAs, and then you can offer those services to clients. So it's a brilliant way to be able to expand your services and reach more clients, and also to scale your business, because if you are a solo VA and your plan is to earn 5k months, you're probably going to struggle to do that if you're on your own. So hiring associates, it will enable you to scale, and it doesn't have to necessarily be associates. It could be employees that you take on. We've had people on this show that have talked to us about going down that route, but it's not without its downfalls, and there are downfalls to it as well, and I want to be really honest about that. But I think over time we've changed the way we do things, and it's helped us bring in a really good team, hasn't it?
Yeah, it is a difficult one. In fact, and I've said this before, that it had, going right back to the beginning, when your client database is building up, my best advice would be to take on an assistant or an associate for yourself, because I never did that. And particularly, it resonates with me now more so about taking on an associate, because I'm so busy that you get to that point where you're not burn out, but you're just going, oh my god, like how am I going to do all this work?
Yeah.
So it is when you get to that point, listen to your gut and take on an associate or an assistant or somebody that you can just offload stuff onto. But as you say, if you have a client that wants you to build a website, which I would never be able to do in a million years, you can then take on an associate that can do that. So you can then offset that, which then frees up your time to concentrate on the other tasks that you've got.
That's a really good point, actually, about not just taking on associates to do work for clients, but actually just to assist you. And that's what you did for me, and still do for me. So it was one of the earliest things I ever did, was to take on my own assistant, because I knew that I needed somebody to help me manage my load in order for me to grow my business. And you're right, it's a weird thing that VAs don't think about, because it sounds strange to hire a VA when you're a VA, but it makes perfect sense to do that, especially if you want to grow your business or you want to have a good work-life balance. And I would be completely lost without you. I just don't know what I would do with myself.
Do you know, it's quite interesting because for one of my private clients, they actually had let me speak again. They actually won a grant to have an intern, to support an intern from a university, and she basically came and worked for me. And actually, she was with us. I think she did about 80 hours over like a good few months. When those 80 hours were up, I really missed her because I could say, right, I've created this content. Can you post it? She did all like the background work, like I do for you. Yeah. And then when she left, I really felt like the effects, like that I couldn't just go, oh, Livy, can you just do this or whatever? So it is so beneficial to have somebody else to do that, time gobbling tasks that we always say to people, that's what we do.
Exactly, yeah. And so the other day I was delayed, I was driving back from somewhere. I've got Kirsty on speed dial, so I can just, call Kirsty. But I haven't got like the client I was meant to be on a call with on speed dial. So I can't then, I'm driving, I can't go through my phone to find that number. And I'm not, my car isn't, I'm not going to be able to do one of those like voice things that tells the car what to do or anything. So it's just easy then to call Kirsty and say, can you contact my client? Can you let them know? And she just deals with that. So I do feel like one of the best things you can do is take on an associate as your own assistant. And actually, even taking on, we keep talking about buddying up. So working with someone, not necessarily as your associate, but buddying up with a VA you trust that can share the load with you. So if you go on holiday, they can do your work. If they go on holiday, you do their work. I think that is well worth it. And actually one of our VIP members has done that. And she says it's invaluable to her business. And she was able to like have a day to herself recently because she just needed to step back and know that VA was going to step in for her. If anybody watching's got any questions, and then please feel free to ask. Let's talk about, right, so I always knew I was going to build an agency. It was always my intention, and I knew to do that I'd have to take on associate VAs. And I got it totally wrong to begin with. I mean, one of the things that I used to do was I'd get like, I didn't have associates, but I'd have a call with a potential client and I would tell them I did. And I'd say, oh, I've got an amazing team member for you. And, I think it's going to be perfect. And then I'd like panic and try and find somebody. And that is not the way to do it. And the reason is I felt like I didn't have enough work coming in to be able to take associates on yet. But actually, you can do that. You just be honest with them. So you just vet associates, the people that you want with the skill sets you need. And then you just explain to them, look, I'm still building my business at the moment. I might not have clients for you straight away, but as soon as I do, I'm going to give you a call and match you with them. But at least you've got them on standby, so to speak. So that's the advice I would give is don't be put off by the fact you don't have lots of clients or inquiries. Still get those people lined up ready for you. And we still very much do that. I mean, we have turned our applications off at the moment because we are pivoting the business, so we don't need it. And that's what I would suggest to do. But the vetting process, that has to be really, really important. So in the beginning, what we used to do, I used to do before Kirsty came along, because I took on 2 associates before Kirsty, and they were absolutely brilliant. But I did things like I put like Meet the Team on my website, and I would link them to their websites. And actually, one of them, she was absolutely lovely, and she said to me, I don't think maybe you should do that because they're going to come and work with me then. And I was like, oh yeah, that's stupid. So took that off. And then I asked for CVs, which I realise is probably a really stupid thing to do, because VAs don't need CVs. They just, all you need to know about a CV, about a VA, is their experience. Being a VA, or you don't need to know what school they went to, how many qualifications they've got.
Yeah.
Just so irrelevant. I mean, I left school at 15 with no qualifications, so it's not important. And we used to do that, didn't we? So we used to ask for CVs, and then I'll be honest, I didn't really like getting on calls, so I didn't always have a call to meet the associates, and that was something I handed off to you. And then I just took what they said they could do at face value, and we got quite a bit, didn't we, there?
Yeah, I think the problem is as well is that because we're human being at the end of the day, and we're very trusting people, and I think you're right with the CV. I mean, even if you were applying for a full-time job now in employment, you wouldn't necessarily they wouldn't necessarily need to know what school you went to or what you got in your GCSEs or what your hobbies are. They don't really give a crap about that kind of thing until you're actually within that embedded within that team. But we did do it that way, and I think it was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? Because we were like, yeah, this is absolutely the right way to do it, and then we'd be like, oh no, this person said they can build a website, but actually they can't really do a website, and we did end up it was a really embarrassing situation because we had to come clean to clients that we'd already spent all that time onboarding and talking to and all of that kind of thing, and because we were so young and so new back then as well. I mean, that was year one, was it?
Yeah, I think it might be year 2, so it would have been about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and if compared to how we do it now, it's like a completely different world, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'd sort of go, oh yeah, this person can do this, this, and this. Yeah, here's a client, bye. And it was like, what?
I know, and we didn't really do any due diligence at all.
No.
What happened was we also allowed VA associates to have an initial call with the client, which is probably standard practice. But I'll talk to you about how we don't do that now and how you can get away with it. And then we would say, okay, what's happened at the end of that call? And then some of the associates would just be having endless calls with the clients. And then we ended up in a situation where one of our associates ended up talking to the client repeatedly, having repeated calls and about money. And then she said to the client that, look, I'll try to be responsive. If you sign up, I'll try to be responsive. I'll try to be around. But, really, I don't get paid a lot from these guys. If I was being paid my direct fee, if you were basically working direct with me, then I could be there more. And the guy got it all wrong, and he contacted me and sent a really shitty email saying that he thought it was awful that we were profiting, taking 50% of her fee. And it was like the most ridiculous thing ever, because how it works when you take on associates is obviously you pay them less than your hourly rate, because you are doing all of the legwork, you're doing all of the marketing. You're the one getting all the clients in. You're the one spending that time and money. I mean, I pay you to do all of that. So I have to, the profit margins, I'm not going to lie, to work with associates are low. They're very low until you get to what I think is a magic number, and that's about 30. Because what happens is you've got overheads and they're fixed, right? They're fixed. They don't increase by taking on more associates. They do increase, but there comes a plateau, so to speak. So anything under that, it costs me around £8.50 on average to acquire a client and match them to a VA. And then you've got all of your other costs as well. And so it's not a 50%. It's not like you're taking half of that money at all. And I had to set that client straight, but it really annoyed me that this person had that conversation and it was just totally out of order. And it made me realize that the way we were doing it at the time, and we still continue to do it that way for a while, but I think didn't we changed I think you were on the call, or we did something very differently with that call. It was like one call. Oh, that's when we introduced a second call charge. So it was one call, and if they wanted any follow-ups, then they'd have to pay. So that was somewhere where, look, it is difficult if you are going to allow your associates to speak to clients initially, then you are going to run that risk. But there is another way, which we'll come to. And then the other problem was, as we said, we didn't really do any due diligence. We didn't really check on people. And a part of the problem was we weren't paying them enough. And I realised that when we sat and really thought about where we'd gone wrong, because it's really easy to blame other people, it became apparent that we just weren't paying enough. So what was happening was, we didn't have we had packages of time, didn't we? 5, 10, 15, 20, but they weren't broken up into any form of services. We did what most VAs do. We can do everything. So we can do everything to everyone. And when we needed more technical experience, we were only attracting VAs who really didn't have that and were quite fresh, because we were only paying about £11 an hour at the time. And so that was where I think we were going wrong, because we were you were getting like, people that were desperate for the work and they were willing to take that money. So what we did after that incident with the client, we had two brand new clients, and we lost them both because of an associate who said they had all these tech skills and they didn't, and that was £1,000 a month we lost. We lost the one because they found out, and the second one we told them the truth and wanted them to move them to a new VA, and they said no. So what we did after that is we sat down and first of all, we've got to change the way we pay people, but we can't pay people unless we raise our prices. And it wasn't about raising our prices, it was about diversifying our packages. So what we did was we broke them into simply admin plus marketing, and admin plus tech. And we had a few others at the time, but we've dropped those since. And that meant that if clients wanted marketing or tech support, they would have to pay more, because VAs get exploited. They get asked to do graphic design, website builds, and they're not paid what they would be paying if they went to an actual graphic designer or web developer. So we decided to increase our prices, our package prices for those particular areas, which meant we could then pay VAs a lot more. In fact, we pay them £25 per hour for that. And then with the Simply Admin, that meant that we could still take on VAs that had more basic skills and didn't have tech or marketing, but we could also protect them, because clients couldn't then ask those VAs, start with emails and then suddenly start, throwing marketing and tech at them. They could move over to the right package with the right VA. So that was the first thing that we did, and I think that was a game changer. Do you?
I completely agree, and I actually remember, that conversation when we were on Zoom, and I think it was like a bit of an epiphany, wasn't it? Like, hang on a minute, why don't we just change the packages so we can accommodate all the clients and the VAs and pay them the right. At the end of the day, you're paying for a service, aren't you? And I think that's what people sometimes forget. They think, that you're labelled as a VA, you label yourself as a VA, but people don't really understand what falls under that umbrella. And I think that was like an epiphany, wasn't like, we have to change the way we work, because we're just going, this person will do this, this and this, and this person will do this, this and this, and we're paying them both the same rate. And I think that's why we ended up having shit VAs at the time, because they were desperate. We were not really desperate, but we just kind of did it that way. So I think, that conversation we had that day, and we were like, right, this is how we're going to do it. And that was a massive game changer for us, because from that point onwards, we started to get the right people, do it the right way, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And it was brilliant, because then we were starting to attract VAs that were more techy, and they could do more with marketing, because they were now willing to work for us. But we still hadn't quite finessed it at that point, and so we decided to change our vetting process completely, didn't we? And so we stopped asking for CVs, and instead we introduced quite a complex behind the scenes. It's quite complex, actually, because it's all automated. We wanted to remove as much of the manual work as we could, because we do get a lot of people applying. And so what we do is, we have a join us form on our website. It's not there at the moment, so don't go look. And people fill it in and they tell us what skills they've got, because we want an initial look at, look-see. That comes through to us, and I will then manually look at it and just make sure they have got the skills they say. So, for example, if they say, yes, I've got website building experience, the first thing I will do is go check out their website. And if it's not good, and I can just see big red flags everywhere, then they're not going to get through the door, because I would expect their website to be top notch. And the same with marketing. If they're telling me they've got marketing skills and they can do graphic design, and I'll go check out their socials and they haven't got any, or they're rubbish, then they're not going to get through the door. But if they can pass those things, and sometimes we can't see those skills just by looking online, because if they're a Simply Admin VA, for example, we'd have to actually see their work. So what we do then is we apply a tag in our automation that says second stage, if we're willing to allow them to go through to the second stage. That then sends them an experience profile. So it asks them to fill out a VA experience profile. So all we want to know is what their experience is as a VA. And then they fill out a questionnaire. And the questionnaire is designed to trip people up. It's designed to weed out the people who are lying about their skills, and it works really well. It's actually so difficult to get through. Lots of people just don't manage to get past it, do they?
No, they don't. And I think in some cases, when people get to that point, they almost give up because they don't have their skill set. And I think just one thing that sticks out in my mind is that we had a VA who said she actually advertised on her website that she could build websites, and there was something else. I think she said social media creation or something like that. When she went through the questionnaire, she said, "Oh no, I can't do any of that." And I said, "Why the hell have you got it on your website then? Do you not think I should advertise that?" No. So you just sort of go, "Well, no, I could put on my website, which I don't have. I'm a pilot." And but you could though, couldn't you? So my best advice: don't say you can do something if you can't.
Yeah.
But that vetting process that we introduced was brilliant because it did. Some of the answers we got were quite comical, and you can tell the ones that have ChatGPT'd it as well, or got Googled it or whatever.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that was a godsend, that vetting process.
Yeah, it is. And if anyone joins our VIP membership or Growth Essentials membership, they get it. They get the entire VA associate onboarding process as well as part of the system, because we give the system that we use. But yeah, it has been a game changer. And we still weren't done, were we? We still had lots of changes. And so what we do then is, if they pass those stages, they have a video call. What you can never plan for, though, is what someone does when they actually have a call with a client. So at that time where we changed all of that, we were still letting them have an initial call with a client. But what we did introduce was the VAs get their own calendars in our system, and so calls are booked through those calendars, so we can see they're not done outside of the business. And so we would have a call, and everything would be fine. And then we'd match them with the client, and then they go off and have an initial call. That's how we used to do it. So Kirsty, do you want to share what happened?
I can't even. I still to this day cringe about that moment. It was horrendous. So we set up the call. You had a call with her first, didn't you?
I had a call with her. She was absolutely fine, no problems. Her background was blurred out, because we give VAs like a tip sheet of what they should do, how they show up, because trust me, we have seen it all.
Oh my God, I never forget. Just say, also, be very wary when you're having calls with people about what you wear.
Yes.
Because I joined a call once with a potential VA, and they had this phrase across their t-shirt, which I won't mention, but it was off-putting to say the least, and that just put me off from the get-go. And we didn't take her on purely because of that. Because also in the summer, straight across tops when you're on a video call,
I've done it.
Because as soon as you join that call, you immediately go, "Oh my God, I look naked."
Yes. And one of our associates, I mean, this is awful, isn't it? We're saying this out loud, but we have to be honest, showed up. She was doing work for us, no problem. And then we had a call, and all we could stare at was the background. It was the messiest house I've ever seen. And we were like gobsmacked, thinking,
It's like she'd been burgled.
It was awful. And then I had an associate that she showed up in her pajamas, and I'm like, no, you just I just don't know what to say. But look, finish your story. What happened with this girl?
The worst one ever. So we had the initial call, and then before the client signed up, we set up the call with them, and she joined the call with the potential client, who I'd worked really hard on to, she was very nervous, and I spent a lot of time chatting to her, chatting it through and everything. She joined the call. There was kids running around everywhere. Mum's shouting up, "What the fuck, in the background. She's vaping on the call with the client. She then tells the client that her child stinks because it's just shit itself on this client call. And the colour, honestly, I can't even. I was so embarrassed that day when she phoned me, the client, and said, "I'm really sorry, I can't work with you because first impressions, this is what's happened. And I remember having to leave the room because I was so embarrassed that I just literally, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that some VA would turn up to a client call with somebody or anybody, A, vape, B, have somebody swearing, and the latter was just awful.
Yeah, it was so awful. And so on the back of that, we again decided we've got to change things. So we stopped allowing clients to have calls with VAs before they were matched. So how we do it now is all our associate VAs, when they're approved, they have to film a video introduction of themselves saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, this is who I am, this is what I can do, looking forward to meeting you. And we send the video to the client, and they sign up and they pay. Because we always take payment up front, please always take payment up front. And that is how we now match them. And so the first time a client will ever have a call with a VA is when they've already paid. And our new system is fantastic. We have now got to a point where we've got the best team we've ever had, and we don't have these kind of problems anymore. Clients are much happier, and it's never been an issue for a client not to have met a VA.
No, it hasn't. And I actually really like the welcome video part of that sequence, because we have had times when clients have said, I don't feel like it's a good fit. And that welcome video takes that awkwardness out further down the line when you've matched them and they've, everything's set up and all that kind of thing. And they meet them and they go, actually, I don't think it's the right fit. And you've wasted all that time. So with that welcome video, you're taking out a massive part of something that could potentially go wrong. And we have had clients say, look, probably really good, but just not for me. Have you got anybody else, kind of thing, which is absolutely fine.
You're right. It does take away the awkwardness. And also because our VAs give us we have a monthly update on their availability. We don't have to check with them first to make sure they're available. So it's not like we've told them, oh, you might have a client, and then they're asking us. We can just send that video. The VA might never know, and the client's come back and said, no, it's not a good fit. We just rematch, but the VA is none the wiser, so we don't have to kind of pass that on and upset anyone. So yeah, you're right. It works for that as well. But now, the system is just brilliant. It just really works. It's absolutely fantastic. And the other way we do it is we have our VAs, they all get their own email inside our company. So all that correspondence with clients happens inside of those emails. And the reason for that is we want to keep the brand, keep everything on brand, but we want to keep that consistency for clients as well. But also it means that we have a private chat, a team chat. So it's not just about getting associates to work with clients and getting them to make sure they're perfect. We also want to support our team to make sure that they're okay and that they're happy. And do they need any support? Not just with our clients, but externally with their own clients as well. And so very often in our team chat, we will have panicked, like, I think I've just lost somebody's entire website. Can you help me? And we'll all just jump in and help. And it's brilliant to have that kind of support.
And that's one of the things when we take on associates, we do say that we are very supportive, and we also do offer, in some cases, training for VAs who do want to broaden their skill set, and we've got lots of tools and things like that we do offer them. So we do kind of nurture them and look after them, but on the flip side of that, they give us a great service, because we don't check in on them. They know that we're here. I do a weekly, we do a monthly call with all of them where we're all on the screen and we all have a laugh, and it's really informal, and it's just, we don't have levels in our business, do we? We're not, this is me, and you're all kind of that. We're all on the same level. And as you say, having that kind of community support type of thing, oh my God, this has just happened, what shall I do? And everybody comes back, don't they? We're all there for each other, regardless of the problem. We had it a few weeks ago where somebody had sent something out by mistake. We were like, don't worry, it's fine, we've all done it, blah, 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 blah. So it is great to have that. And they know, that they can come to either of us at any time with any issues, as you say, clients of ours or clients of theirs. And we have done that as well, haven't we? We have helped them with their own clients when they've had payment issues or, contract issues or anything like that. So it is good to have that in place.
Yeah, it is. And I think for your mental health, knowing you've got a team around you, it's really good. And that's why we have our final Friday coffee and chat last Friday of the month. And that's really a wellness check, just to make sure. And we always ask, have you got any problem clients at the moment? And we all try to, you know, jump in and help and give offers of advice. And like you said, it was on one of those calls where we found out one of our associates hadn't been paid by not one of our clients, by our own client, and Kirsty rang them up and got the payment. Kirsty the Rottweiler.
It's really funny because one of my clients, they call me their guard dog. That's what they call me. Because whenever things go wrong, I'm like, right, that's it. But I did it on that day, and I think she got paid within like 3 minutes of me making the call.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. I'm always offering your services to people now. But yeah, for that reason, and that's but for that reason, having associates, because then you've got a community as well, is really it's really beneficial. But what I would say is, you do need a Kirsty. You do need someone like you. So Kirsty's like we call her our client magic maker. She's basically our account manager, and she takes care of the clients' VAs as well, because it's been possible for me to do all of that whilst trying to build the business. So I do feel like you should first start with your own assistant, someone that you can potentially mold into a good account manager, or take on an assistant with that in mind, that they need to have these kind of skills. And then you would take on associates, and eventually your assistant would start managing those as well. So that's a good way to do it, I think. What would you agree with that, or would you say I got it totally wrong?
No, I completely agree with you. And actually, if I just go back to Livy, the intern that I work with, she's just started her next year at uni. But I did say to her, look, if the opportunity comes up, would you want to like work for me, like on the sideline of doing your degree? And she's like, absolutely, because she knows the business and she knows how I like things done and how to do it and everything. So I would go back to her and ask her to work for me as an associate for my private client, because as I said before, the one mistake I made was not having my own assistant, because you do try and do everything yourself. And I have realised that this week, that I've just gone, what is going on? I don't have anybody to go, oh, could you just quickly do this, or could you just quickly do that, or whatever. But so you do have to have that. And I think actually one of our associates put together, obviously paid her, put together a presentation for me, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I now use that presentation for everything that I do, because for my other clients, because it was brilliant. So I had somebody that I knew, B, I knew she was brilliant at what she did, and I trusted her. So we've got those people, if anything ever arises like that, to go to fall back on.
Yeah, you're right. And you do find, once you start working with associates, you find out more and more about them and their skill sets that you just can't get from a piece of paper. It's like Demi, we realized, was a whiz at WordPress, and she's just become our WordPress expert. In fact, she's our WordPress expert in every sense of the word. And I mean, when we've cocked up WordPress, she comes in like a superhero and saves the day. And she's just built like a website for one of our clients in WordPress. And I love knowing, because I build websites, but I hate WordPress. And if I need to recommend WordPress as the best site for a client, I know I don't have to do it, because we've got Demi. So it's absolutely brilliant for that reason as well. It's really positive to work with associates. It does help you scale your business, but there can be issues. The issues that we've talked about, but the worst one, and it's the one that probably puts people off, or the one that people worry about the most, is what if an associate steals your client? And that may very well happen, and we can't ignore that, because it's happened to us. So it has happened. It's happened in a really brutal way. Sometimes it happens, but you don't know it's happened. Like, you got a feeling, but you can't prove it. It normally looks like the client leaves, the associate leaves, and then the client leaves at the same time, or not long after. And then you kind of get an idea then that that's happened. We do have in our contract that associates can work with clients directly if they buy them out. So they would pay for, so many months of what we would have received. So that can happen, but obviously so far nobody's ever done that. But what has happened to us is we have had We found out after associates have left. We had an associate, she was absolutely brilliant, loved her, was really upset that she was leaving, and then found out from a client that was still here, just thought you ought to know that I said to her on the phone, you know, I do work with clients directly if you want to come over. So she was trying to take that client and we had no idea, and that was really upsetting to find that out. But the worst thing that happened was a close family member of mine was working in the business. And I always say, don't work with family. It was my biggest mistake. And this person basically she wasn't a VA. She was initially came in to help with invoicing, but then, you know, started to do some VA work for one of my clients, and then you know, I pointed her in the direction of a company I used to do work for because they were a lot busier than I was, and even said to her, like, you're doing super well, you ought to think about setting up on your own, because she had a particular skill set. And she was like, no, I've got no intention to do that, you know, I haven't got the time to go get clients. And then literally I found out like the next day,
48 hours it was.
48 hours later, that she'd actually started her own business without telling me. Hadn't even had the, you know, just the politeness as a family member to say, you know what, actually, I am going to do that. I had to find out from someone else. It was almost like a carbon copy of what I was doing. Now it isn't, which is just upsets me, because I think if you'd have just gone down this route from the beginning, we wouldn't have fallen out so badly, and we now no longer speak. But actually, that's not what happened. And my fear was, why haven't you told me? You know, because this person was inside my CRM system with all of my clients, and I would never have had a VA in that system apart from you. So I had to then block her from the system, because my only thought was, well, is this the reason you've not told me?
Yeah.
And the client she was working with at the time had been discussing with us putting us on her website as like a partnership, and in the end they ended up doing that together. So basically just stole the client, and because you can't say it was any other way. And that was awful, and it really knocked me about, and we did end up not working with associates for months after that, didn't we?
We did. And I think, I mean, aside of that whole situation was just toxic, because, you know, that person was in behind the scenes. They had access to all of our pricing, you know, literally everything. And that is the problem with working with a family member, because you end up, the trust is endless because they're a part of your family. But I think at that time, that particular situation was trying to become between us. And I think there was like a, you know, an element, I don't know what it was, I don't know. But and I think I remember at the time we both sat there for about 15 minutes on the call after this had happened, just staring at each other in like disbelief. And I remember being quite emotional about it, because I'd had a gut feeling about it, but because they're a family member, I felt like I couldn't say to you, look, this is not right. I don't feel like this is, you know. And at the time I remember thinking like it was awkward, and there was like bloody meetings about how upset they were and all this shit. And I remember thinking, this is just not going to work. This is like, you know, really bad. And I think, to add insult to injury, right, the fact that they lied about how long that website only took me, blah, 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 bullshit. That was not what I remember saying to you. That's been done for ages, blah, blah, blah. And then they tried to follow us on social media. Do you remember?
I don't remember that, really.
Yeah, I remember phoning you going, you're never going to believe this. Almost like going,
yeah.
us. And I'm going to go blocking everything. And that's where people lose trust in associates, when things like that, because that's why we went, do you know what, we're stopping this. And me and you split the clients, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We got rid of all the associates, because it got to us that badly, affected us that badly, personally and business, that we just had to stop it until we, you know, regained the confidence again.
Yeah, I think your point about it was something I didn't consider at the time. Like, I always say, don't take family on. In fact, I'd written posts about it before I did it, and I just took her on because I felt sorry for her at the time. And you know, it was a big mistake. But the problem is, what you don't think about is, you, for example, were then in that situation where you couldn't come to me like you would at any other time and say, you know what, Lisa, actually I don't think this is the right person, or whatever, because she was my family member and you would be worried about upsetting me. So for that reason, I mean, I could have lost you, and that would have just devastated me. So you've got to keep it professional. So if you're going to take associates on, don't let it be family members. It's easy to take on family members because it feels like you already know them, like you've just said, you already trust them. But I did this in my first business. I ran a business for 10 years and I failed to scale. And the reason is I never took on anybody. And if I did need help, I'd only use family. And they often let me down or, lost me clients. And it was just because I was scared. I was just scared to go out there and talk to people. There's a bit of imposter syndrome in feeling like you're the boss, in feeling like if you're taking someone on, it means you're more superior than they are. And really, am I? Do I have the skills to be that? Like, who am I to boss someone around or tell them what to do? But you don't have, like you just said, there's no levels in our business. It's not like that. Like, my associates come to me all the time for things and we jump on a call, and they're my equals. They're also business owners, and they're running their own successful businesses too. So I think you don't have to view it like that, like you're the boss of somebody. Yes, you do need to be a leader and you do need to lead your team, but you certainly don't need to throw your weight about and act like you're boss at all. It's just not necessary in this industry, I don't think. But there are other ways. So I know that there are people that take on associates who never meet the clients, and so the work is delegated instead by the lead VA. And I'll be honest with you, I would probably go down that route now if I was to do this again. Because there has been problems, and sometimes I often feel like we've got loads of mitigation procedures in place to avoid clients getting upset. So what we do is we onboard the client and we onboard them for a month. So for the first month, they get drip fed emails telling them, this is how to make your relationship successful. Don't forget, we're here if you need us. This is all automated, but regular check-ins, here we are if you need us. This is Kirsty's email. This is our WhatsApp. Add the WhatsApp to your phone. Contact us anytime you need anything. And that goes on for a month. And when that month ends, an email gets sent to Kirsty to do a manual check-in. So she will now send a manual email from our info at email, personally checking in. And then, because by then the client should have enough knowledge, enough awareness of what they need to do. And then we don't need to do that anymore. Although Kirsty still does check in, we don't want it to be so frequent because obviously we are running a business and we can't spend loads of time doing that. But the amount of clients who then wait until they've got frustrated with a VA before they come to us is very frustrating for us, isn't it?
It is so frustrating because the process that we put in was to make them feel like they've got a little blanket around them and that they can come to me with anything, regardless of it. And I think that's like kind of one of our ethos is to be like that as a business, that we are a business, but we are all on the same level and you can come to us at any time. And it is frustrating because if you don't know, you can't help somebody. And that's what I always say to clients. If I don't know what's going on, I can't help, I can't fix it, I can't step in or find out what the problem is. And that's where you've got to have that nurturing part. Also for VAs as well, and I say to people all the time who I speak to who are VAs, don't suffer in silence. Like, if something's wrong and something's wrong, speak to me, come to me. I'm not a mind reader. If I don't know, I can't help you. And it works the same ways with the client.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, on the back of that, it doesn't matter. We've fixed this problem in a way through our systems and processes, but it hasn't fixed the problem because the clients are still clients and they still are hoping things will be okay. They don't want to upset anyone, and we can't change that. But I often feel like if we worked with the clients and they didn't work direct with VAs and instead it was managed through us, that would be a better. And actually we are moving into that direction because we're going more into online business management, and going forward that's exactly how it's going to work in our business. So we are transitioning, and I do think in some ways that's the better way to do it. It does mean that clients can't then meet the VA and the VA can't then steal the client. It does mean that firsthand any frustrations and you can avoid those because you're the one dealing with the tasks and the projects and all of that kind of thing. So I do think it's personally the better option. There is a route you can go down where you employ someone, but even that is not without risks. We had someone on the show who built a very successful VA business through employees, but was in the middle of a court battle with one of them who had stolen clients and gone off and started their own business. So you can't avoid it, even if you go down that route. So
no, you can't. And I think the way that the route that we're now going down, and this is not any judgment on any of our team whatsoever, but there are sometimes occasions when you go, oh, what's happening there? Like that person's not talking to their client, whatever. But taking that part out and having us as the main contact, and then we delegate, just removes any issues that could potentially arise. And we have a bit more, not control. I don't want to say control because I am a control freak, but a little bit more of a handle on it, because we know what's been, delegated, what's, I had a call with a client, funnily enough, yesterday, again, who hadn't come to me with an issue, and I kind of talked it through with them, and it was that they're chasing the VA all the time. But actually, I didn't know that. So if we remove that process and I'm the one that they're talking to, I know exactly what's going on. I know the ins and outs of our clients, like nobody would believe. I could reel them all off, tell you who they are, what they do, their website, everything, without even looking at it. And I think having that direct contact with us will be the best move we've ever made.
Yeah, it'll be the final change needed in the process that we've spent 4 years building. And we have built a brilliant process that, and I think it's so beneficial. And as I say, we give that away in the memberships. But I think this final change is going to be well worthwhile. And we charge more because obviously we're managing that process. But I think on the whole, working with associates is a great thing to do, whether you're scaling your business or not. So if it's to add complementary skills that you don't have, if it's so that you can free up your time, if it's that you're taking on an assistant, it doesn't have to necessarily be that you want to build an agency. It could be for the community aspect that you're buddying up, and then you just manage the client and delegate to the VA. I definitely recommend doing it that way. So I think the benefits of working with associates outweigh the risks. Personally, there are risks, but I think that the benefits are far higher. What do you think?
I mean, I completely agree. And I think, until you get to that point in your business where you are, you can look at delegating tasks and things out to people, you won't ever consider that, because as business owners, and we hear it from our clients all the time, well, this is like our little baby and we've built it up and we've worked really hard, blah, blah, blah. But unless you do get rid of or delegate some of the tasks, you're never going to be able to grow.
No.
So and it is nerve-wracking. I was like with Livy, like, oh, shall I, shan't I, shall I? Now, it's something I've never done before, but actually it was the best thing I ever did, because it means I can split that time and either do something else or do my own admin, which I never do. And, it gives me that flexibility.
Yeah, it does. If anyone's got any questions before we leave, then please pop them in the comments and we'll answer them. If you want to know anything about working with associates, taking associates on, the best ways, then just ask us. The other benefit is, if you get ill or injured, or somebody else in your family does, if you're incapacitated, if you can't work, you've got people there that can pick up that work straight away. We had Heather McClellan, who is actually one of our clients, but also delivered a VIP masterclass recently. So we have monthly masterclasses inside our VIP membership, and if you join, you get the replay. And she come on to talk about that. That's what she does. She helps people prepare for things like that might happen. If that's already happened, how to deal with it, and then after, how to return to work. And she brings up things that you've never thought about. So insurances that you didn't know existed, what you need to do to make sure, like, what happens, who's got access to your bank accounts, who can pay suppliers when you're not around, what happens to your clients. So what do you need to put in your contracts, so that clients are aware that if something happens to you, and on the back of her, I went on her course, I did put that into our contract to say, if we get ill or injured, or I can't work or whatever, or your VA, then you will be moved to somebody else. And we give them the right to leave if they want to at that point. But if they then accept working with that VA and they continue and then they change their mind, well, they don't get refund. So all of these things that I'd never thought about, you don't think about that. But like, I know if something happens to me, you are going to step in and you've got all of those permissions. They're all granted to you. So you can work with the accountant. I put my husband on the bank account. So there's so many things you don't think about, but having a team helps you with that as well, doesn't it?
It's quite interesting actually, because we had our final Friday call at the end of October, and this is something that I spoke about, and out of the 6 of us, none of us had that. So we've got 6 associates at the moment, not one of us, a couple of them went, oh yeah, I've never really thought of that. But you don't think about that. And now, like, I normally trojan through any illness. I can pretty much get away with everything, not really that bothered. Like today, I could really do with just taking a day off and just not talking or working or thinking. My brain's so fried where I feel so crap, but I don't have anybody to pick up that. Whereas if I had somebody, I could go, look, I'm feeling really bad. I just need to take the day where I'm just doing nothing. But I don't have that. So it's really key to have somebody there, whether you buddy up with a VA, whether you have your own assistant or you have an associate or anything like that, that you can just go, can you just handle this for a few days just while I recuperate, or I'm going away for the weekend or whatever. So you've got somebody there to pick that up for you. It was really interesting that none of the team had that in place. Really interesting.
Yeah, just something you don't think about. I mean, I made that mistake in my first business, and I was having a baby and then found out that the baby was going to be really poorly, and suddenly had to take on an employee and I had to subcontract, and I don't know what I thought I was going to do when the baby came. I was just going to keep working constantly. You just don't think about these things. So it is another beneficial reason. So I personally think that the best route is not employing, but working with associates, and they not working direct with the clients. That's my, even though I've not done it that way, that's how I would do it now.
But it's a learning curve running a business, isn't it? I mean, it's like I said earlier, if you compare what we're like now to when we started out, it's a complete different world. Like, you look back and go, what on earth were we thinking? Like, how on earth did we, like, what went through our heads at that time? But it's learning, and that's, how we've got to where we are. And now we're transitioning down another route because we've learned that this isn't quite working anymore. And that's fine. It's just the module's just not working. So we've got to change it and go down a different route. So that's business, isn't it?
It is. It's constantly evolving, and you have to be brave enough to evolve too. Well, I think hopefully that's given people some insights into the downsides and the upsides of working with associates. And any questions about that, nobody's asked in the comments, but if you do have any questions, then you can always reach out to us and we'll respond. We are looking for podcasts. We are looking for podcast guests, and particularly we'd love to do a live interview with a VA that's starting out that would love to pick our brains and just ask questions of us on the show. So if you're interested in being part of that, then drop us a DM. Or email us at you can email info@ltvaservices.com. We'd love to have you on. You don't necessarily have to be a VA to join. We've had lawyers on here. We've had other people that are just going to give their experience and their wisdom from their own business. Leanne Harris was with us last week talking about belief coding, and so you can come on and talk about your VA experiences. You can come on and talk about something else that you might do as a sideline. But if you're interested, you can head to morethanava.org/podcast, and you can apply there and listen to all our back episodes as well. So we'll be back next week on Friday at 10 a.m. in the VA Live Lounge, and we will see